Sharpe's Escape by Bernard Cornwell. Read by Rupert Farley. Part 1. Chapter 1. Mr. Sharpe was in a bad mood, a filthy mood. He was looking for trouble, in Sergeant Harper's opinion, and Harper was rarely wrong about Captain Sharpe, and Sergeant Harper knew well enough not to engage his captain in conversation when Sharpe was in such a black temper. But on the other hand, Harper liked to live dangerously. "I see your uniform's been mended, sir," he said cheerily. Sharpe ignored the comment. He just marched on, climbing the bare Portuguese slope under the searing sun. It was September 1810, almost autumn, yet the heat of late summer hammered the landscape like a furnace. At the top of the hill, another mile or so ahead of Sharpe, stood a barn-like stone building next to a gaunt telegraph station. The station was a black timber scaffolding supporting a high mast from which signalling arms hung motionless in the afternoon's heat. "That's a rare nice piece of stitching on that jacket," Harper went on, sounding as though he did not have a care in the world. "And I can tell you didn't do it yourself. That looks like a woman's work, so it does." He inflected the last three words as a question. Sharpe still said nothing. His long, straight-bladed cavalry sword banged against his left thigh as he climbed. He had a rifle slung on his shoulder. An officer was not supposed to carry a long arm like his men, but Sharpe had once been a private, and he was used to carrying a proper gun to war. "Was it someone you met in Lisbon now?" Harper persisted. Sharpe simmered, but pretended he had not heard. His uniform jacket, decently mended, as Harper had noticed, was rifle green. He had been a rifleman. No, he still thought of himself as a rifleman, one of the elite men who carried the Baker rifle and wore the dark green instead of the red. But the tides of war had stranded him, and a few of his men in a redcoat regiment, and now he commanded the light company of the South Essex, who were following him up the hill. Most wore the red jackets of the British infantry and carried smooth-bore muskets, but a handful, like Sergeant Harper, still kept their old green jackets and fought with the rifle. "So who was she?" Harper finally asked. "Sergeant Harper." Sharpe was finally goaded into speaking. "If you want bloody trouble, then keep bloody talking." "Yes, sir," Harper said, grinning. He was an Ulsterman, a Catholic and a sergeant, and as such he was not supposed to be friends with an Englishman, a heathen and an officer, but he was. He liked Sharpe, and knew Sharpe liked him, though he was wise enough not to say another word. Instead he whistled the opening bars of the song, "I would that the wars were all done." Sharpe inevitably thought of the words that accompanied the tune. "In the meadow one morning, all pearly with dew, a fair pretty maiden plucked violets so blue." And Harper's delicate insolence forced him to laugh aloud. He then swore at the sergeant, who was grinning with triumph. "It was Josephina," Sharpe admitted. "Miss Josephina now. How is she?" "She's well enough," Sharpe said vaguely. "I'm glad to hear that," Harper said with genuine feeling. "So you took tea with her, did you, sir?" "I took bloody tea with her, Sergeant, yes." "Of course you did, sir," Harper said. He walked a few paces in silence, then decided to try his luck again. "And I thought you were sweet on Miss Teresa, sir." "Miss Teresa," Sharpe said, as though the name were quite unknown to him, though in the last few weeks he had hardly stopped thinking about the hawk-faced girl who rode across the frontier in Spain with the partisan forces. He glanced at the sergeant, who had a look of placid innocence on his broad face. "I like Teresa well enough," Sharpe went on defensively, "but I don't even know if I'll ever see her again." "But you'd like to," Harper pointed out. "Of course."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?